Welcome, age of vintage society. Warren Beatty was demanding, he was irritating, he wasn't always a good actor, but he might have been brilliant. And that, along with the prodigious womanising, is what I'm going to remember him for today. What is Warren Beatty's secret of seducing 13,000 women? Make sure to watch the video until the end and leave your thoughts in the comments. If you are new here, join our wonderful community by subscribing to the Age of Vintage channel. How Warren Beatty seduced America. How many women were there? Easier to count the stars in the sky. Warren Beatty wasn't your typical handsome. There was something earnest about him, something plaintive, needy, that made women want to protect him and, of course, sleep with him. And if you know anything about Warren Beatty, it's probably that he's rumoured to have slept with 13,000 women over the last 75 years. His sister famously said he couldn't even commit to dinner. Woody Allen once asked to be reincarnated as his fingertips. Warren Beatty is a Hollywood legend. Not only has he been nominated for and/or won virtually every filmmaking award for which there is a category, he is also an unabashed Casanova of the highest order, whose randy reputation made it possible for people to believe an April Fool's joke about a tunnel between his house and the Playboy Mansion. Beatty is also notoriously introspective, making him a tough interview, and at times an even tougher collaborator. With only 32 acting credits to his name over a career that spans 56 years at the time of this writing, his selectiveness with his projects only serves to deepen the mystery surrounding him. Henry Warren Beatty was born in Richmond, Virginia, to Ira Owens Beatty and Kathleen Corrine on 30th of March 1937. His father Ira was a school administrator, having a PhD in psychology, and his mother, Kathleen, was a drama teacher. His grandparents were also teachers. Warren has an older sister, also a famous actor named Shirley MacLaine, and although their parents and grandparents were all from the education sector, both Beatty and his sister chose to go into entertainment. Beatty is actually of Canadian-American background. His father Ira was not only a teacher but also a real estate dealer, while his mother, Kathleen (née MacLaine), was from Nova Scotia. Beatty attended Washington Lee High School in Arlington, Virginia, and was a very talented footballer. He was offered several football scholarships, but stayed true to himself and went on to study the liberal arts at Northwestern University. Before he ever made it as an actor, Beatty worked as a pianist in a cocktail lounge. Given how he looked back then, it's safe to say that was probably one of the most appropriate jobs he could have gotten. His sister Shirley had also become a Hollywood star by this time, and this also encouraged Beatty to follow her into the movie industry, where he studied with famed acting coach Stella Adler. Warren Beatty's career has been extended and illustrious, and has lasted the best part of 6 decades. Being a talented actor, Beatty is also a director, producer and writer. He has been known to take on all 4 roles at the same time, a feat that very few have achieved, let alone mastered as Beatty did. His sister Shirley believes it is due to their father's drinking problem that Beatty likes to be in control of everything as an adult. Beatty started with various television roles in the 1950s. His first work was in television. He moved to films made in the last gasp of the studio era, and finally found success by putting together film packages, story, script, producer, director and stars of some iteration thereof included, and selling them to the studios. He took on his first Broadway role in 1959 in a drama called A Loss of Roses, and then moved on to his first movie role in 1961, which was named Splendor in the Grass. The role he played in this movie got him nominated for his first Golden Globe Award as Best Actor. Even when the studio let Beatty go ahead with Bonnie and Clyde, he wasn't given an upfront salary. The studio was so negative towards the film's chances that Beatty got 40% of the gross profit. The film ended up being played in theatres for 6 years, by the end of which Beatty's personal profits were $28 million. For anyone curious, $28 million in 1973 was worth about $150 million today. It continues to be one of the largest back-end deals ever made in Hollywood. During this period he also hooked up with Joan Collins. Girl was a minx with a contract with 20th Century Fox, which wanted to pit her against Elizabeth Taylor. Collins was getting roles, Beatty was not, but they were head over heels for each other, and apparently having a tremendous amount of sex. Warren Beatty's reputation as a honey hound is untold. The details of it may surprise you. To start, according to Star, How Warren Beatty Seduced America, the unauthorized biography of the Dick Tracy star, author Peter Biskind, puts the figure of notches on Beatty's bedpost at just under 13,000. That would mean not just that there were multiple people a day, but that there was no repetition. As he is known for his impressive dating history, as his impressive roles from Splendor in the Grass to his new Howard Hughes film Rules Don't Apply, he also addressed his playboy reputation. He has been romantically linked to a bevy of beauties including Natalie Wood, Julie Christie, Barbara Streisand, Carly Simon, Stephanie Seymour, Janice Dickinson, and even Madonna. Joan Collins, Cher, Diane Keaton have often joked about their affairs with Beatty in interviews, further adding to his reputation. The veteran argued that he didn't do anything wrong by being such a playboy. "Look, I never misled anyone, and I'm a nice guy." Beatty divulged a clue to his upbringing that could be the key to understanding his lustful years of cavorting with the ladies. Referring to a character in his film Rules Don't Apply, Beatty said, "I, and the character of Frank, come from a Protestant American background. The consequences of American Protestant Puritan sexual guilt and repression, which I feel is the theme of the movie, is something I have a strong interest in." Ah, yes, the old curiosity about that which is taboo excuse. But doesn't that beg the question, once you've experienced the so-called taboo behaviour 1,000 or 2,000 times, what exactly becomes the excuse for the next 10,000 or so? Warren Beatty starred in many movies over the years, quite often producing or directing, or both. Some of the movies he wrote as well. His leading ladies were the stars of his time: Natalie Wood, Elizabeth Taylor, Halle Berry, and Carly Simon, Princess Margaret, Jane Fonda, Brigitte Bardot, Mary Tyler, and Jacqueline Onassis. There were many others. Beatty was one of the last people to see Marilyn Monroe alive. A 25-year-old Beatty met her at a producer's home during a party. According to a 2016 interview with Beatty, the two of them spent the evening together, which involved Beatty playing piano for her and a moonlit walk along the shore, which he described as more soulful than romantic. Monroe died the next day. But his philandering all changed 24 years ago when he met and fell for San Francisco-trained theatre actress Annette Bening. He cast her in Bugsy, a movie about the mobster Bugsy Siegel, who lived in Hollywood and created Las Vegas. In later years he married Annette Bening. They have 4 children together, 2 boys, Stephen and Benjamin, and 2 girls, Isobel and Ella. Stephen was born Kathleen, but in 2006 announced he was transgender. Beatty has since referred to Stephen as a revolutionary, a genius, and my hero, as are all my children. "I waited a long time to be married," he said. "When you don't get married until you're 54, well, as Arthur Miller said, it comes with the territory. His children are by far the best thing that happened to me. I always knew I wanted to have children, I wanted to do it well, and I wanted to do it with someone who felt the same way. I'm an attentive father. I have to struggle somewhat not to be overly attentive, and he knows the fame he and Annette has is not easy for the kids. It's a burden to be the child of not only one famous parent, but 2. And he looks forward to travelling with his kids. I want to see the world through the eyes of my children. They're so different, they all want to go to different places. The big question is, will they want me there with them? Although Beatty was a Hollywood favourite for many years over many movies, his movie Town and Country turned out to be a flop at the box office, and the fallout kept Beatty away from the movie scene for many years after that. Beatty was prolific in his movie making. Aside from making fewer than 30 films in over 55 years, Beatty spent his career turning down an incredible amount of famous film roles. These include Gordon Gekko in Wall Street, Bill in the Kill Bill films, Richard Nixon in both Nixon and Frost Nixon, and Michael Corleone in The Godfather. However, according to Beatty himself, there's only a few film roles he regrets turning down. The most prominent example is the role of Jack Horner in Boogie Nights. He did 8 movies in the 1960s and 7 in the 1970s. He slowed down considerably after that, with 2 in the 1980s and 4 in the 1990s. There were only a few more after that time. He was also fascinated by Howard Hughes, who also dated plenty of women, including Katharine Hepburn. Beatty became interested in Hughes when they both stayed at the Beverly Hills Hotel, but instead of keeping one room, Howard had several, and the hotel staff never knew where he was. Right away I thought, this is very unusual. It amused me, the idea of a man being so public yet so private, Beatty said. I was fascinated by my fascination with this person. Hughes had this theatrical mysteriousness that Warren always found intriguing. Beatty spent 40 years of his career crafting a movie about the controversial billionaire. However, like many of his projects, it was frequently stalled or had to be shelved when other projects beat him to the punch, such as Martin Scorsese's The Aviator. He finally got the chance to make his Howard Hughes film when he released The Rules Don't Apply in 2016. Unfortunately, it was a box office flop and received mixed reviews from critics. It is worth mentioning that Warren Beatty enlisted during 1960 in the California Air National Guard. In 1961, however, Beatty was discharged because of a physical disability. He was on inactive duty after this time. In the early 1960s, while John F. Kennedy was President of the United States, a film was made about the young Kennedy's World War II service called PT-109. Kennedy himself expressed his support for Beatty to play him in the film. Beatty was asked to meet with Kennedy to discuss playing the role. Beatty, however, refused to do the film, since he had issues with the screenplay's quality. He was proven right when the film was released in 1963 and became a box office disappointment. Kennedy later met Beatty and admitted that Beatty had been right to pass on the film. They were friends until Kennedy's death later that year. JFK's death wasn't the last time that Beatty interacted with the Kennedy family. He developed a close relationship with Robert F. Kennedy and became very involved in Kennedy's presidential bid. After Kennedy was assassinated in Los Angeles, Beatty became a lifelong advocate for gun control. Beatty has played a very active role outside of his acting career in trying to better society. One would assume that he feels a sense of duty to give back to the community. From all the honours awarded, we can believe he has done excellent work in this regard. Whether political or otherwise, Beatty has contributed much to a wide variety of causes, with society benefiting from his work. In 2008, Beatty received a Lifetime Achievement Award from the American Film Institute. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you are new here, and if you want to support my work, please visit my Patreon page. Now it is your turn. What do you think about Warren Beatty's life and legacy, the lifelong Casanova?